The warning arrives. Governor Zelthar's forearms trembled as he read the emergency transmission. His reptilian features twisted with horror as the words sank in. The message had come through the fastest communication channels available, racing across 3 star systems to reach the Kelvoran colony of New Sanctuary. Human warships detected. Terran Battle Fleet Omega approaching your sector. Estimated arrival 72 hours. May the ancient gods have mercy on your souls. Zelthar dropped the datapad, watching it clatter across the floor of his office. In his 40 years as colonial governor, he had never faced anything like this. The humans were coming, and everyone in the galaxy knew what that meant. The Reputation Communications Officer Vex burst into the governor's chambers without ceremony. His green skin had turned pale with fear, and his usually steady voice shook as he spoke. "Sir, we're receiving reports from across the sector. The human fleet destroyed the Maltron defense grid in less than 6 minutes. The entire 6th Fleet of the Galactic Alliance couldn't even slow them down." Zelthar felt his heart skip a beat. The Maltron system had been considered impregnable, defended by energy shields that could stop entire armadas. If the humans had broken through that easily, what hope did a simple mining colony have? "How many ships?" Zelthar asked, though he dreaded the answer. Initial scans show 12 human dreadnoughts, accompanied by over 200 support vessels. "Sir, that's enough firepower to crack a planet's crust." The governor closed his eyes. He had heard the stories like everyone else in the galaxy. Humans didn't just conquer worlds, they reshaped them entirely. Their technology was beyond anything other species could comprehend, and their military tactics were ruthlessly efficient. The legend of human power security chief Thorak entered the room, his massive frame filling the doorway. Even his warrior race, known throughout the galaxy for their courage, showed respect and fear when humans were mentioned. "Governor, we need to discuss evacuation procedures," Thorak said grimly. "My people have fought beside humans in the past. I've seen what they can do when they decide a world needs to be reorganized." Zelthar looked up at his security chief. "Tell me what you've witnessed." Thorak's expression darkened. "The siege of Kronos Prime. I was there as a mercenary. The Kronos Defense Coalition had 50,000 ships, orbital platforms, and energy barriers that had never been breached. The humans arrived with 30 vessels." 30? Vex interrupted. "Against 50,000? "The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes, Thorak continued. "Human ships moved like nothing I'd ever seen. Their weapons cut through our strongest shields like they were made of paper. But the most terrifying part wasn't their technology. It was their coordination. Every human ship moved as if controlled by a single mind. The inevitable approach. Long-range sensors began detecting the approaching fleet. The readings made no sense to the colony's technicians. Human ships seemed to bend the laws of physics, traveling faster than light in ways that should have been impossible. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "we're getting energy signatures that don't match any known propulsion system. The lead ship appears to be... It's massive, larger than our entire orbital facility." Governor Zelthar walked to the main viewport and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, moving toward them with unstoppable force, was a human fleet that could end their civilization with a single command. "Open a channel to all colonies in the sector," he ordered quietly. "Send out the ancient warning code. Let everyone know that the humans are coming to this region of space." The terror spreads across dozens of star systems. Alien civilizations received the warning. On the trading world of Bexlar, merchants immediately began liquidating their assets and fleeing toward the outer rim. The warrior clans of Zephyr IV went into deep underground shelters, abandoning their proud cities to wait out the storm. Even the mighty Vorthon Empire, rulers of over 1,000 worlds, recalled their fleets to defensive positions around their capital. When humans moved through space, entire galactic regions held their breath and waited to see which worlds would survive the encounter. Governor Zelthar knew his colony's fate was sealed. The humans were coming, and destruction was inevitable. The only question now was whether that destruction would be swift and merciful, or whether New Sanctuary would become another cautionary tale told in whispers across the galaxy. As the hours passed, every alien on the colony felt the same growing dread. The most feared words in the galaxy had become reality. Incoming human warship. Destruction is inevitable. The countdown to humanity's arrival had begun. The stories begin in the colony's emergency council chamber. Governor Zelthar gathered his most trusted advisors. The room buzzed with nervous energy as reports continued flooding in about the approaching human fleet. Chief Historian Nexar stepped forward, his ancient voice carrying the weight of galactic memory. "Governor, you must understand what we're facing," Nexar began, his scaled hands trembling slightly. The humans didn't become the galaxy's dominant force overnight. Their rise to power is written in the ashes of 1,000 worlds. Security Chief. Thorak nodded grimly. "Tell them about the Andromedan War, Nexar. They need to know what humans do to those who resist." Nexar's eyes grew distant as he recalled the events that had shaped galactic history. 50 years ago, the Andromedan Consortium controlled half the galaxy. They were a proud species, convinced of their own superiority. When humans first entered their territory, the Andromedans laughed. The Andromedan Mistake Communications Officer, Vex, leaned forward, hanging on every word. Like most younger aliens, he had only heard fragments of these stories, passed down like cautionary tales. The Andromedans sent a message to the human fleet, Nexar continued. They called humans primitive, mammals who should return to their dirtball planet. They gave the humans 24 hours to leave Andromedan space or face annihilation. Governor Zelthar felt a chill run down his spine. "What happened?" "Admiral Blackstone happened," Thorak growled. "Marcus Blackstone, the human who earned the title Worldbreaker. He sent back a single-word response. No. Nexar pulled up a holographic display showing star charts from 5 decades past. Red markers indicated Andromedan worlds, while blue showed human positions. The Andromedan Consortium had 15,000 warships, planetary defense grids on 200 worlds, and battle stations that could destroy moons. And the humans? Vex asked, though he dreaded the answer. 300 ships under Admiral Blackstone's command. The impossible victory. The holographic display began showing the progression of the war. Red markers started disappearing one by one, replaced by blue human control indicators. The first battle was at Kepler Station, Nexar explained. The Andromedans sent their entire third fleet, over 2,000 ships, to crush the human invasion force. The battle lasted 6 hours. Thorak's expression darkened with memory. "I fought in that battle as a young mercenary hired by the Andromedans. I watched human ships do things that shouldn't be possible. They moved through space like living creatures, anticipating our every move. The Andromedans lost every single ship," Nexar continued. "Not one human vessel was destroyed. That's when the galaxy realized we were dealing with something beyond our understanding." Governor Zelthar stared at the display in horror. "How is that possible?" "Human technology isn't just advanced," Thorak explained. "It's incomprehensible. Their ships don't just fly through space, they seem to bend reality around them. Their weapons don't just destroy matter, they unmake it from existence itself." The cascade effect, the holographic display showed the war's progression. World after world fell to human forces with terrifying efficiency. What should have been a conflict lasting decades was over in 18 months. "Admiral Blackstone didn't just defeat the Andromedans," Nexar said quietly. "He systematically dismantled their entire civilization. Every military installation, every government center, every symbol of Andromedan power was erased from existence." Vex looked puzzled. "But surely some Andromedans survived. What happened to the civilian populations?" Thorak's expression softened slightly. "That's the most terrifying thing about humans. They're not monsters." After crushing the Andromedan military, Blackstone offered the survivors a choice: join the growing human empire as protected citizens, or be relocated to designated worlds where they could rebuild in peace. Most chose to join, Nexar added. Today, former Andromedan worlds are among the most prosperous in human space. Their citizens live better lives than they ever did under the consortium. The pattern emerges: Governor Zelthar began to understand the true scope of human power. This wasn't just one victory. This is how they've conquered the galaxy. Exactly, Nexar confirmed. The Vorthan Empire, the Centauri Federation, the Galactic Trade Alliance, they all fell the same way. Overwhelming military force followed by surprisingly generous terms of surrender. But what about those who kept fighting? Vex asked. Thorax's face grew grim. The Zelkarian resistance tried to continue fighting using guerrilla tactics. They hid in asteroid fields and conducted hit-and-run attacks on human supply lines. Admiral Kane dealt with them, Nexar said. Rebecca Kane, Blackstone's protege. She spent 3 years hunting down every single Zelkarian cell, not through brute force, but through detective work that bordered on the supernatural. Kane seemed to know what the Zelkarians would do before they did it themselves, Thorak explained. She predicted their attacks, their hideouts, their supply routes. Within 6 months, the resistance was completely eliminated. The current threat. A new alert chimed through the chamber. The sensor operator's voice crackled through the communication system. Governor, we have visual confirmation of the human fleet. They're beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Governor Zelthar looked at his advisors with growing dread. Which human admiral are we facing? Nexar checked the incoming data streams. His face went pale. Governor, the flagship is transmitting identification codes. This is Battlefleet Omega, commanded by Admiral Diana Wolf. The room fell silent. Even Thorak, the battle-hardened warrior, stepped back in shock. Wolf, Thorak whispered. The admiral who ended the siege of Proxima. The one who convinced an entire star system to surrender without firing a single shot. Governor Zelthar realized their situation had gone from desperate to hopeless. Admiral Wolf was known throughout the galaxy as the human who could win wars with words as easily as weapons. The legends of human terror were no longer just stories. They were about to become new sanctuaries reality. The evacuation order Governor Zelthar stood before the colony's main communication array, his 4 arms working frantically across multiple control panels. The massive screen before him showed the approaching human fleet, 12 dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the colony's defense grid. All civilian transports begin immediate evacuation procedures, he announced colony-wide. Priority goes to families with younglings and essential personnel. We have 18 hours before the humans reach optimal firing range. Chief Engineer Korvik rushed into the command center, his breathing apparatus wheezing from exertion. Governor, the evacuation ships can only carry 30% of our population. The cargo freighters weren't designed for passenger transport. Zelthar felt his heart sink. New Sanctuary housed over 2 million inhabitants from 17 different species. The mathematics of survival were cold and brutal. Most of his people would have to face whatever the humans had planned. The Defense Gambit Security Chief Thorak approached with grim determination. Sir, I've consulted with the defense grid commanders. We know we can't win, but perhaps we can buy time for more evacuations. Thorak, you told us yourself what happened to the Andromedans. Communications Officer Vex protested. Their massive fleets were destroyed without touching a single human ship. I know, Thorak replied grimly. But we have something the Andromedans didn't. Knowledge of human tactics. Maybe if we're clever enough, we can delay them long enough to save more lives. Governor Zelthar looked at his security chief with newfound respect. What do you propose? Don't fight them directly. Instead, we use our mining equipment to create asteroid fields in their approach vector. Force them to slow down and navigate carefully. Every minute we delay could mean another 1,000 lives saved. The futile preparation. Across the colony, desperate preparations began. Mining ships that had spent decades harvesting rare minerals were hastily converted into makeshift weapons. Cargo haulers became evacuation vessels. Even pleasure craft were pressed into service to carry refugees to the outer system. Chief Historian Nexar worked frantically in the archives, trying to gather every piece of information about successful negotiations with human forces. His ancient claws clicked across data tablets as he searched for precedents, for hope, for anything that might save his people. There has to be something, he muttered to himself. some species that faced humans and survived intact. But every record told the same story. Overwhelming human force, swift victory, and then surprisingly merciful terms, but only after complete surrender. No species had ever successfully resisted a human fleet and survived to tell about it. The arrival, the moment everyone dreaded, finally came. Long-range sensors detected the familiar distortion patterns that accompanied human faster-than-light travel. Space itself seemed to ripple as the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Visual contact established, reported sensor operator Quillen, his voice barely above a whisper. 12 human dreadnoughts confirmed. They're magnificent. Governor Zelthar forced himself to look at the main display. The human ships were unlike anything in the galaxy. Sleek predators that seemed to cut through space itself. Their hulls gleamed with an inner light that suggested power beyond comprehension. "Governor," Vex called out urgently, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It's Admiral Wolf herself." First contact, the main screen flickered, and suddenly Governor Zelthar found himself face to face with the most feared human in the galaxy. Admiral Diana Wolf appeared younger than expected, with steel-gray hair and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. When she spoke, her voice carried absolute authority. "Governor Zelthar of New Sanctuary Colony, I am Admiral Diana Wolf of the Terran Defense Force. Your system has been designated for integration into human-protected space. You have 1 hour to respond to our terms." Zelthar felt his translator, implant working overtime to process the human's rapid speech patterns. "Admiral Wolf, we are a peaceful mining colony. We have committed no crimes against humanity or any other species." Wolf's expression remained unchanged. "Governor, this is not about crimes. This is about order. Your sector has become a refuge for pirates and slavers who attack human merchant vessels. We are here to establish permanent security." "But surely there's room for negotiation," Zelthar pleaded. "Our people have done nothing wrong." The demonstration Admiral Wolf's image was replaced by a tactical display showing the colony's hastily prepared defenses. Every asteroid field, every armed mining ship, every defense platform was highlighted in red. "Governor, your current defensive preparations are noted and understood," Wolf's voice continued. "To demonstrate why resistance is inadvisable, we will now disable your primary defense grid." Zelthar watched in horror as one of the human dreadnoughts moved toward their main orbital platform. The massive space station that had protected the colony for 40 years mounted weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. A barely visible beam of light emerged from the human ship. It touched the defense platform for less than a second. Immediately, every system on the station went dark, not destroyed, simply turned off as if someone had flipped a switch. "Your defenses are now offline and will remain so until you comply with our terms," Admiral Wolf announced. "We are not here to harm your people, Governor. We are here to protect them from the chaos that has plagued this sector," the term's chief. Engineer Korvik stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Governor, they didn't destroy anything, they just shut it all down. How is that possible?" Before Zelthar could respond, Admiral Wolf's image returned to the screen. "These are our terms. First, all military vessels in this system will be decommissioned. Second, New Sanctuary will accept a human administrative council to oversee security matters. Third, your mining operations will continue under human protection with guaranteed markets for your resources." Zelthar felt a flicker of hope. These terms were far more generous than the stories had suggested. "And if we refuse?" Wolf's expression hardened slightly. "Then we will implement these changes without your cooperation. The choice is whether this transition happens peacefully or not." Security Chief Thorak leaned close to the governor's ear. "Sir, she's giving us a way to save face. This isn't conquest. It's protection with conditions." Governor Zelthar looked around at his advisors, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The humans weren't here to destroy them. They were here to impose order on a chaotic sector, and New Sanctuary could either cooperate or be forced to comply. The weight of 2 million lives rested on his neck. The decision Governor Zelthar stood, in silence for long moments, feeling the weight of history pressing down on him. Around the command center, his advisors waited breathlessly for his response to Admiral Wolf's ultimatum. The human fleet hung in space like sleeping giants, their power held in check by their commander's patience. "Admiral Wolf," Zelthar finally spoke, his voice steadier than he felt. "New sanctuary colony accepts your terms. We choose peaceful integration over resistance." A collective sigh of relief echoed through the chamber. On the main screen, Admiral Wolf nodded with what might have been approval. "A wise decision, Governor. Commander Wolf will transport down to your surface within the hour to begin the transition process. Prepare your senior staff for briefings on new security protocols." The transmission ended, leaving the colonial leadership to contemplate their new reality under human protection. The commander arrives. An hour later, a strange shimmer appeared in the center of the command chamber. The air itself seemed to bend and twist before materializing into the form of a human in a dark blue uniform. Commander Nathan Wolf stepped forward with confident efficiency, his keen eyes immediately assessing everyone present. "Governor Zelthar, I am Commander Wolf, Admiral Wolf's son and liaison officer. Thank you for your cooperation in this transition." His translator device rendered his words into perfect Kelveron, but something in his tone suggested he might speak their language naturally. Security Chief Thorak stepped forward, his warrior instincts still alert despite the peaceful surrender. "Commander, what exactly does human protection entail for our people?" Commander Wolf activated a holographic projector, filling the room with detailed star charts. Red zones marked areas of pirate activity, while blue sectors showed human-protected space. "Chief Thorak, over the past 6 months, 17 merchant vessels have been attacked in this sector. 4 colony ships carrying refugees were destroyed. The Crimson Raiders have established 3 major bases within 50 light-years of your position." The hidden threat chief historian Nexar studied the tactical display with growing alarm. "Commander, we had no idea the pirate activity was so extensive. Our communications arrays haven't detected these attacks." "Because the Raiders have been jamming distress signals," Commander Wolf explained grimly. "They want isolated colonies like yours to remain unaware of the danger until it's too late." Communications Officer Vex looked up from his console with confusion. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the outer system. Something's approaching fast." Commander Wolf's expression hardened. "Right on schedule. Governor, you're about to see why human protection was necessary." The main display shifted to show 3 sleek ships dropping out of hyperspace. Their hulls bore the crimson markings that gave the Raiders their name, and energy readings showed they were heavily armed. "Crimson Raiders," Thorak growled, his warrior heritage recognizing the threat immediately. "Those ships could level our entire colony." The test of power. Governor Zelthar felt panic rising in his chest. "Commander Wolf, surely your fleet can handle 3 Raider ships." "Governor, watch and learn why humans have become the galaxy's peacekeepers," Commander Wolf replied calmly. He touched his wrist communicator. "Admiral Wolf, we have 3 Crimson Raider vessels entering the system. Permission to demonstrate standard protection protocols." Admiral Wolf's voice crackled through the comm system. "Permission granted, Nathan. Show our new allies what human justice looks like." The display shifted to show the human dreadnought Retribution moving toward the Raider ships. The massive vessel dwarfed the pirate craft, but the Raiders seemed undaunted and opened fire with everything they had. Brilliant energy beams struck the human ship's shields, creating spectacular light shows but causing no apparent damage. The Retribution didn't even slow down. Swift justice. "The Raiders are using military-grade weapons stolen from destroyed colonies," Commander Wolf explained matter-of-factly. "Their firepower could crack a moon, but it's useless against human shielding technology." On screen, the Retribution responded with a single, precise shot from its main cannon. The energy beam struck the lead Raider ship, and instead of exploding, the vessel simply stopped moving. Dead in space, but intact. "Stasis field," Wolf explained. "The crew is unharmed but completely immobilized. The other 2 ships are attempting to flee." But escape proved impossible. The human dreadnought moved with impossible grace, intercepting the fleeing raiders before they could reach jump distance. 2 more precise shots left the entire raider squadron floating helplessly in space. Total engagement time, 47 seconds, Commander Wolf announced. No casualties on either side. The raiders will be processed according to galactic justice protocols. The Moral Code Chief Engineer Korvac stared at the display in amazement. You captured them alive? Why not simply destroy them? Commander. Wolf's expression grew serious. Because humans believe in justice, not vengeance. These raiders will face trial for their crimes. Those who were coerced into piracy will be offered rehabilitation. The leaders will face appropriate punishment. Security Chief Thorak nodded slowly with growing respect. This is why species choose to join human space willingly. You offer not just protection, but justice. Exactly, Wolf confirmed. Human. Expansion isn't about conquest. It's about creating order in a chaotic galaxy. Every species under human protection maintains their culture, their government, and their way of life. Governor Zelthar felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. What changes will we see in daily life? Minimal changes for most citizens, Wolf assured him. You'll have access to human trade networks, which will increase prosperity. Our security forces will patrol your space, ending the raider threat. In exchange, we ask only that you follow basic galactic laws against slavery, piracy, and warfare. The Revelation Chief Historian Nexar stepped forward with newfound understanding. Commander, the stories we heard about human conquest, they weren't about empire building, were they? Wolf smiled for the first time since his arrival. Historian, Nexar, humans learned long ago that true strength comes from protecting the weak, not exploiting them. Every world that has joined human space has seen increased prosperity and security. But what about species that refuse your protection? Communications Officer Vex asked nervously. They are left alone as long as they don't threaten others. Wolf replied simply. Human justice only intervenes when innocents are threatened. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The terrifying human empire that had haunted alien nightmares was actually a protective federation dedicated to galactic peace. Governor Zelthar looked around at his advisors, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The humans hadn't come to conquer New Sanctuary. They had come to save it from threats the colonists hadn't even known existed. The age of human protection was beginning, and perhaps that wasn't something to fear after all. The integration begins. 3 months after the human fleet's arrival, Governor Zelthar walked through New Sanctuary's bustling commercial district, marveling at the transformation. Where once nervous aliens had hurried through dimly lit corridors, now beings from dozens of species moved freely, conducting business with confidence and prosperity. Commander Nathan Wolf approached, carrying a data tablet filled with progress reports. Governor, the transition statistics are remarkable. Trade volume has increased by 400%, and we've had 0 security incidents since the raider capture. The people seem genuinely happy, Zelthar observed, watching a Yai group of Kelvoran children playing with human holographic toys. I confess I expected occupation, not partnership. Wolf smiled warmly. That's the difference between conquest and protection, Governor. When people feel safe and prosperous, they thrive. The prisoner exchange. In the colony's newly constructed detention facility, Security Chief Thorak supervised the processing of captured Crimson Raiders. Professor Elena Mitchell, a human behavioral specialist, worked alongside alien counselors to evaluate each prisoner individually. This raider claims he was forced into piracy after his home colony was destroyed, Thorak reported to Wolf. His family was held hostage to ensure his cooperation. Professor Mitchell nodded sympathetically. Classic coercion pattern. We'll relocate his family to a protected world and offer him job training in legitimate security work. Many former pirates become excellent peacekeepers once given the chance. And the ringleaders? Thorak asked. They'll face trial on Terra Prime, Wolf replied grimly. The Galactic Justice Council doesn't tolerate those who prey on innocents. but even they'll receive fair trials and humane treatment. The wider network. Communications Officer Vex monitored the new quantum communication array the humans had installed. Messages flowed freely between New Sanctuary and hundreds of worlds across human-protected space. Governor, we're receiving trade offers from 17 different systems, Vex reported excitedly. The Altarian Consortium wants exclusive rights to our rare minerals. The Proxima Manufacturing Guild is offering advanced technology in exchange for raw materials. Chief Engineer Korvek joined the conversation, his breathing apparatus humming. With contentment. Sir, the human engineers have shown us fusion techniques that will triple our energy output. They're sharing technology freely, asking nothing in return. Governor Zelthar shook his head in amazement. In my worst fears about human occupation, I never imagined they would make us wealthier and more secure. The Cultural Exchange Chief Historian Nexar found himself in constant dialogue with human scholars eager to learn about Kelvoran culture and history. Dr. Sarah Barnes, a human anthropologist, spent hours recording ancient Kelvoran songs and stories. Your people's oral traditions contain mathematical concepts we're still trying to understand, Dr. Barnes explained enthusiastically. The way you describe star navigation through poetry is absolutely brilliant. And your human literature speaks of dreams we never dared imagine, Nexar replied. The concept of democracy, where leaders serve the people rather than rule them. This is revolutionary thinking for many species. The cultural center buzzed with activity as humans and aliens shared knowledge, art, and ideas. What had begun as military occupation had evolved into genuine friendship and mutual respect. The greater purpose.